Number figured out, a motive born in drought and brevity. And if I'm not the soul of your design, I blatantly decline your remedy. Don't box me in, don't, or I'll leave. I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else than your machine. Wasn't always just a single shade, a palette full of gray in reverie. And I can burn it brighter than the sun. I have a golden gun inside of me. Don't box me in, don't, or I'll leave. I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else. And if I fall behind, ignoring all the signs, if I lose the fight, I still rage against the night. I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else than your machine. Maybe I'm a little young, but you don't know what I've become. Can't you see it in my face? But even living in disguise, where you can see the killer in my eyes, I've got a look you can't escape. Boku no mirai wa dare ni mo wakaru nai. Mina wa boku o dame na yatsu to omou. Kakami o mitsumeru boku o misakete iru. Kero naka ni wa okina chikara kibo ga aru. Maybe I'm a little young, but you don't know what I've become. Can't you see it in my face? A demon living in disguise, where you can see the killer
Hello, hello, hello. En vivo! How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Down in the Valley podcast and internet show. My name is Edson Ochoa, and I'm one of the co-hosts, and it's great to be back. It has been a while. The Valley and the state of Texas in general went through very, very dire circumstances the last couple of days. Thankfully, we have left that past us. English is hard today. We have left that past us, and now it's time where we can comfortably start talking more about the sport that we love and the team that we definitely love. How's it going, YouTube? How's it going, Facebook? We're back. Did you think we'd leave you all to dry? No. We'll always be here for the toros. And of course, I do want to let y'all know that our show is brought to you by Roughneck Scarves, as well as Icarus FC and Natural Beauty Spa. So, if you're looking for some scarves, for your supporters group, your team, or for a fundraiser, look no further than Roughneck Scarves. You see that scarf that's behind me? The Toros one? That's made by Roughneck Scarves. Really good quality, and I can definitely assure you that the quality is great. So if you're looking for scarves, be sure to give them a call or check out their website at roughneckscarves.com. They're the official scarf supplier of the USL, MLS, and NCAA. Also, are you tired of the same old uniform from Nike, Adidas, etc., etc., etc.? You want something custom for a youth club, Sunday League squad, or even a professional team? Icarus FC can help you create the kit of your dreams at an affordable price. Let them help you design your new custom kit today at IcarusFC.com. By the way, I actually have one. It was for the Surge supporters group. Their first one, the black one. I definitely love it. So, it's very comfortable to wear in hot weather. And even though it's black and even in the sun, you don't really feel so... what's the word I'm looking for? Like it's not extremely hot where it's like uncomfortable to wear. So quality is there. Be sure to check them out. IcarusFC.com. Be sure to also check out Natural Beauty Spa if you're looking for a facial, or you want to make your skin a little better. You want to take care of your skin. Be sure to give Josefina Ochoa a call, 956-648-8586, and she'll definitely take care of you. Because at Natural Beauty Spa, give your skin what it deserves. Anyway, after telling you all of this stuff, let's get right to it, guys. First of all, I do want to welcome back a member of the Down in the Valley podcast. He's been AWOL for a couple of episodes, but he's back, which definitely appreciated. We really missed him. Our official photographer and, of course, close friend of ours, Cesar Cortez. Cesar, how's it going?
You see that? The flag is back up.
Yeah, we're matching flags.
I don't know if you remember in a couple posts ago, back when Toros had that unmentionable season, that I said, that's it, it's going down. The flag.
Yes, yeah, I remember that. I think we were recording an episode that I ended up not uploading for some reason. You did mention that because it was that bad.
Yeah, but after hearing the news of the independence and the news of I'm not going to spoil anything yet. That we'll do that later in the show. But after hearing the independence, I'm like, okay, it's time for it to go back up. So there it is.
So, guys, first of all, let me know how the audio quality is at this moment. Like I said, I hope you all like the new graphics that we are trying to implement. And of course, I want to give a huge shout out to everybody on Facebook right now. Be sure to like this video if you guys are enjoying this so far. Be sure to also subscribe to the channels and like us on Facebook if y'all haven't done so. And of course, share the streams. Share the streams with everybody you know. All of your friends that are from the Rio Grande Valley that go for the Toros, share them. Share it with your grandma. Share it with your dog. Wherever. On Facebook, Instagram, Tinder. Don't matter. TikTok.
Farmers
share it.
only.
Brought to you by FarmersOnly.com. There it is, everybody. But yeah, share it with everybody. We're here to learn more about the Toros. And of course, I do want to give a huge shout out to our Patreon supporters. Huge shout out to Gilbert Guajardo, Harry Austin, even though he's a San Antonio fan. But he is a huge supporter of the Down in the Valley podcast. So Gilbert Guajardo, Harry Austin, Eddie De La Garza, my dad, Javier Ochoa, Johnny Reese, and of course, Jeff Strong. Thank you all for your support. And today was supposed to be the... So what's going to happen is you go into Patreon, and every month, like if you subscribe to our Patreon, you will you'll receive, depending on the tier that you choose. You can choose the $2 tier, you can choose the $5 tier, and of course, the Blame Edson tier, which is the $5, and the Rep the 956 for $9.56 every month, and you'll get exclusive benefits for being a patron. One of the benefits for being a Patreon supporter is one show out of every month. All of the patrons that are part of the hashtag Blame Edson tier, the $5 one, and the Rep the 956 tier, the top one, will have a show where they can all come into the Zoom chat, and we start discussing everything Toros related, news. They can ask questions live on the show while they're talking to us via Zoom on the podcast. So hopefully some of these patron supporters will be coming in as the show goes on. But in the meantime, Cesar and I, we will be kind of discussing the news that have been going on so far. So just a quick recap from last December. If you guys missed any other episodes, either episode 1 or episode 2, we are in episode 3. So anyway, quick recap. December 23rd, 2020, RGVFC announced the restructuring of the partnership between the Houston Dynamo and RGVFC, or as we like to call it, the official declaration of independence from the Houston Dynamo. It was something that we, as a podcast, we as members of the podcast, have been wanting for a long time. And yes, there's been backlash by certain someone. Y'all know who I'm talking about, right, Sean? That have been very, let's just say, not nice about it. Kind of been very sarcastic about everything that's been going on. But I see it, the way I see it is, there's a lot more potential for the Toros to grow, being independent, than being under the Dynamo. But we haven't heard from Cesar, talking about that bit of news. So, Cesar, what was your initial reaction when the team announced the independence?
I actually had a conversation a long time ago with my dad, who's not really a soccer fan. He's more of the NFL, MLB kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But we had been talking about how as far as the team goes, the Toros have no infrastructure, with the rules and the regulations that have been set by the Dynamo. And he said, unless they gain independence, they're never going to succeed. But it's the Valley. It's never going to happen.
Really?
Come December, look what's I'm like, Dad, ridiculous just happened.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah, and he ate his own words, basically. Is that okay? What are they going to do now? I'm like, good question.
You see, honestly, you say that jokingly, but that's how we were. It was one of those things where we never thought it was actually going to happen so soon, or so soon after getting Ron Patel as our president. I said maybe one more year, especially since Jeff Ruder had mentioned a couple of weeks before that announcement that the Houston Dynamo RGV relationship had been extended for 1 year, or at least had one more year of contract before it expired. And so when that announcement was made, I was actually on getting some stuff from the store. I was heading over to the store, and I saw that announcement. I was like, wait, what? Like, it caught me off guard. Like, if you guys go back to my Twitter account on the down in the valley, like I recorded my reaction, like my thoughts about it, like right in the car. I was in the car. Obviously, I was parked. I was like, I'm not gonna be recording in traffic. But I parked in front of the store and I just recorded, my thoughts about it. That's how much I was caught off guard about this bit of news. But we got that. So happy about it. But questions arose, like you mentioned. Where are we gonna go from here? Is Alonso Cantu going to spend the money to make this team competitive? Now, Ron Patel in the press conference after the announcement did mention, and we played it on episode 1, he did mention that Alonso Cantu was determined to spend any amount of money necessary to make the Toros competitive. And so then that was that. But were there any other questions that you had regarding to that besides the money?
I know one question that arose was, okay, as far as money goes, maybe, Alonso Cantu had invested so much of his own money into building the stadium, trying to get, built from the ground up, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
My question was, okay, so now that they have the independence, where is the talent's going to come from now? Considering that Houston had complete control over who got to stay and who got to go, and more or less who they brought onto the team, both the USL squad and the MLS squad, as far as the academy as well. So that was going to be my next question. Okay, where they're going to get the players from?
Mm-hmm. And that was definitely a good question, because part of the agreements for this arrangement was going to be that now the Toros would be controlling the technical aspect of the team rather than the Dynamo controlling which players will be coming and going and determining the roster. So the Houston Dynamo has obviously their Houston Dynamo Academy. They've got the MLS Super Draft where they can grab players and they would technically loan them down to RGVFC. But now with the Toros, you have a club that didn't have any scouts, did not have a sporting director. A couple of days before the announcement, fired Gerson Echeverri for the head coaching job. So you had nothing. You had nothing in the club. And the announcement was made in December, where teams were already starting making some off-season moves. January comes in. We still have no head coach. And so we started getting a little bit impatient. We started getting a little bit desperate. It was like, well, you've got other players making a lot of moves and really good moves. Some really good players from the USL. I think you even had Louisville City already starting their preseason training. And we only had 3 players on our roster: Campbell Cavato, Kyle Edwards, and Juan Carlos Azócar. So time goes by and still nothing, still nothing, still nothing, still nothing. 2 weeks ago, they finally announced the head coach, Wilmer Cabrera. Wilmer Cabrera will be not only our head coach, but also sporting director of the team.
That caught me off guard completely. I mean, we had discussed possible candidates. I believe it was in episode 1 on who we thought was rumored to come back. I know there was one who had coached Tigres for a while.
Reinaldo Siqueira. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
He was the coach that was postulated by the other show.
Mm-hmm. And remind me again, when did Houston let go of Cabrera?
Cabrera was let go in 2019.
Okay.
The end of 2019.
Okay. So this happened way before the renegotiation of the partnership and when the independence was given to the Toros.
Yeah. So Wilmer Cabrera was let go in 19. The Dynamo gave the reins to, I think it was Wade Barrett. It was Wade Barrett. And then they announced Tab Ramos in the beginning of 2020. I think. Do I have the timeline right? I think so. Yeah.
And I don't know if this is irony or pure coincidence, but that same topic was brought up with my dad with the Independence. I'm like, hey, if they brought this guy back, who knows what they're gonna accomplish, because he took them to second place overall in the Western Conference, got them into the playoffs their first year. Mm-hmm. So who's to say that if he'll come back or not? And again, it'll never happen. Ridiculous Part 2 called.
Right? So
yeah,
it seems like so far the Toros are 2-2 on achieving what was thought impossible for you.
Pretty much.
So anyway, they announced Wilmer Cabrera, right? One of the interesting aspects was the motto that the team used to present Wilmer Cabrera: unfinished business. Brenda Gonzalez, we give a huge shout out to from Univision Deportes, from Channel 48, asked Wilmer Cabrera about that, like, why unfinished business. He mentions, and he recalls back to the 2016 season, where the Toros made it to second place in the Western Conference. They make it to the playoffs, only to bow out in the first round against OKC Energy in stoppage time. He says to him, after all these years, it still hurts him. And he felt like he had something to prove to the people of the Rio Grande Valley. Now, personally to me, I enjoyed what Wilmer Cabrera did with the Toros. I definitely did not enjoy what he did to the Toros when he was the Dynamo head coach. Whether it was him or whether it was Matt Jordan, at the end of the day, after Wilmer leaves the Toros to go to the first team, in my eyes, the Dynamo held back the potential, or everything that was being built by Wilmer Cabrera in 2016. They signed a lot of players from the 2016 roster to the Dynamo first team. They never played them in Houston. But yet, they were never loaned back to RGVFC so they could continue getting some playing time. Which was, I thought, the whole point of being the affiliate for the Houston Dynamo. And obviously I'm talking about players like George Malky, Charlie Ward, Eric Bird. So there is that. Also, as I did mention, before, the way that Wilmer kind of presented himself, and I know I talked about it on Ray's podcast that came out on Monday for South Texas Border Sports. One of the things that I did mention was when Wilmer Cabrera was the Houston Dynamo head coach. He, especially at the end of his tenure with the Dynamo, he threw his players under the bus multiple times. And I'm talking about, I remember one time, I don't remember who they played. I don't know if it was Minnesota United. But I was there at the press conference after the Dynamo game. And, the Dynamo had lost that game. And he went on to say that his defensive line or that traffic cones would have defended better than his Dynamo back line. I'm not going to lie. I mean, he was being honest. That defense was horrible. But look at it in the viewpoint of a player. And there were rumors that he was starting to lose the locker room during that time. You add to the fact that he just publicly shamed you in front of the press, publicly, saying that cone or the traffic, comparing you to traffic cones, and that's
they're both orange.
Let's not. Ouch! Ouch! Oh man!
Remember, I'm only a Dynamo fan by proxy because of the partnership.
Oh, even not anymore, man. Not anymore. Not anymore, my friend. But anyway, he went us to say, like I said, it might have been true, but you look at it in the viewpoint of the player. You're getting embarrassed publicly by your coach in front of the press. Sure, it's more than likely that they lost any little respect that they had for Wilmer Cabrera at that moment. So at the end, he gets fired from the Houston Dynamo head coaching job, and he goes to Club de Foot Montreal, formerly known as Montreal Impact, wins the Canadian Cup over there. And now, after being, like Jorge just mentioned, Wilmer was at the Madrid's youth system. I'm not sure about if he means Real Madrid or Atlético de Madrid. But he was over there, in their youth system, if what Jorge Pedraza says is correct. And so now he's announced as the head coach here for the Toros. I want to hear your thoughts about this.
Well, I know he was brought on late. No. Wasn't he brought on late? Mid-season, no? Or was he brought on with the Dynamo?
So when he got the
start of the season,
when he got the Dynamo coaching job?
Yeah.
No, he came in at the beginning of the 2017 season.
Okay, that's what I remember. But I never saw the press conferences personally. But what I did see was a lot of backlash on Twitter about him not even wanting to attend the press conferences, and that actually I think somebody brought it up in the chat.
Yeah, Jorge. He says there are stories that Wilmer really hated doing press conferences to try to get out of it, but it is required to attend them.
Yeah, I'm just here so I won't get fined kind of thing. Y'all remember that?
Yeah, Marshawn Lynch and Marshawn Lynch and Kyle Busch did that later. If you guys are NASCAR fans, I'm sure you'll get the reference. By the way, I hate that guy with all my passion.
Kyle Busch? Yeah. It's not one of my top 10s. Not even top 20s.
Carl Edwards, please come back.
I was like Jimmy Johnson the best.
Oh my god!
But that's a different sport. But yeah, going back to that, and it just, me personally, it felt honestly like just rubbing salt into the wound of the RGVFC fans signing him on as the head coach, considering what he had did the first season, only to have him just taken away from us the next season and saying, okay, he's our head coach now. We'll give y'all who did we have by then? I know it was Echeverri, right?
No.
By then?
No.
It was Junior. There we go.
Junior Gonzalez.
But yeah, that's how it felt to me, and I can assure you that a lot of people felt the same way after they heard the news of the Dynamo bringing him on as the head coach for the Dynamo.
Mhm. Yeah, so in 2017 he gets hired for the Dynamo coaching job. He makes it all the way to the Western Conference Final where he loses to Seattle Sounders, and which is really not that bad. It was a great run for a very limited team, a team that had it was the beginnings of the rise of Mauro Manotas, brought in Albert Feliz from Rayados de Monterrey. It's something completely different that MLS teams didn't weren't expecting, or they weren't used to playing a counterattacking, very speedy offense by the Houston Dynamo. But as the seasons progressed, once you got into 2018 and 2019, I felt like MLS players or MLS teams started to get the hang of it, of the Houston Dynamo's offense under Wilmer Cabrera. They were able to counter the Houston Dynamo's counterattacks. Have your defensive line back, not be close to the midfield, not give Albert Feliz space to run. They knew that Albert Feliz was limited when it came to shooting for the most part. Double or sometimes triple teaming Albert Feliz to make sure, like, if he got past one. So that was limiting the Houston Dynamo. And also, it seemed like Wilmer Cabrera kind of like was holding to his guns. And the fact, like, he wasn't adapting to how the other MLS teams were adapting to his play style. And so the Dynamo kind of fell into a rut. Former players some have been vocal. I know we're talking about Jaleel Alibaba and Chris Duval, who went on the BSI podcast. I think it was a Benny Feilhaber. It's a podcast that's hosted by 3 former MLS players, and they talked about how they don't really like Wilmer Cabrera. So, but on the upside, you look at what he did with the Toros back in 2016, and it really gives you kind of hope that at least it's something different, right? And I think it'll be interesting to see how he can build this roster, taking into consideration that Albert Feliz and a couple of other players, they were scouted by Wilmer's experience rather than Matt Jordan. And so I think he deserves the benefit of the doubt when it comes to building the squad. But I guess we'll see what gets announced.
Yeah, not to mention that another good question that was brought up was, other than where they're going to get the players, where are they going to get the scouts to look for players too? Which ties into what we were talking about right now.
Yeah, that's a really good question that I think should be asked to Coach Wilmer, or maybe even Ron Patel. I know Ron's gonna give Wilmer Cabrera free reign over building this roster. He has a lot of trust in Wilmer Cabrera's experience, but it is a good question. Like, where his scouts coming from? Are they from Colombia? Are they from the United States? I mean, you got to keep in mind that Wilmer Cabrera was part of the U.S. youth national system as well, just like Tab Ramos. So he kind of has like an eye for former players that were part of the youth system. He's also got ties in South America. Back in 2016, you had players like Yair Alboleda. You've had Juan David Cabezas. and other South American players come into the Houston Dynamo. So there, I think we'll see something really interesting going on. And so far, I mean, we are at February 25th, and right now we've only got one signing so far, which was announced today.
Which is why we're doing the podcast today. It's in our title, for crying out loud.
Yeah, pretty much. Honestly, I was expecting a little bit more, but before we go into that, I do want to go into the chats, both Facebook Live and on YouTube, and I want to see what they are writing about. So, I want to give a huge shout out, obviously, to Jorge Pedraza. You got Harry Austin. Come on, Harry, join us on the chat. I mean, join us on the Zoom, man. You are a Patreon after all. I would love to hear his point of view as a San Antonio fan. I'm pretty sure he's trembling right now. I'm just kidding. It's too early to say that stuff. We got Mike Reyes from the Stampede. He says, "I'm here. What's up, Edson? Puro pinche down in the valley. I really need a what is it? No, it's not an iRig. The Go XLR with their little sensor button. Beep. Gilbert Guajardo says, "I gotta get back to work, but have a good show, guys." Definitely, Gilbert. Thanks for coming on. Hopefully, we can have you for the Patreon show for next month. And we've got Johnny, the El Presidente, as well. Hopefully, he'll come on later on too. And he was gonna be a little bit busy. So hopefully he come on, even if it's for like the last 15-20 minutes. Let's see what else. He says, "Did my exam as soon as I got off work to watch this." Johnny, if you're done, hop on, man. I sent you I sent you the Zoom link to your Patreon. It's on direct message in Patreon, so you can grab it there. I called it and didn't think the announcement was about that, but I guessed right. Right, what else we got? Jorge says, "Wilmer Cabrera Jr. coming back. Watch." I've been told he's probably staying at Butler, but I guess we'll see what happens. Hopefully, his time at NCAA collegiate soccer kind of helped him develop so that he could be better prepared for the pro stages, especially in USL Championship. Harry, no. Kyle Busch is a winner. Jorge is he's a good racer. Johnny Reese is the most hated coach in RGV Junior. LOL. That's true, Jorge. Wilmer won the Open Cup as well back in 2018. Rafael Soto, saludos. Edson Javier Ochoa Vega, saludos, Rafita. Santos says, "Hello, people." And then Jorge comes with the scoop. He says, Juan David might come back. To the Dynamo or to the Toros?
I know there's a big Englishman fan favorite that's everybody's hoping to come back. That would honestly be the 3 for 3 of the things that I didn't think was going to happen.
Are you going to say it or you not, or you don't want to jinx it?
I'm not going to jinx it, but I think we all know who we're talking about.
Well, it definitely cannot be Charlie Ward because he just renewed with OKC.
I know at the time he was a free agent, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. But he renewed with OKC Energy. So if that was it, I'm sorry to burst your bubble.
Yeah. Well, two out of 3 ain't bad.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, you know. Michael said, Ron said he would like the new coach to be involved with the fans and the community. How do you see that happening?
I don't know. Me, I think there would be why not come on here? I mean, this is a podcast by fans, for the fans. the unofficial news source, if you will. That would be community driven.
I definitely agree with that. I agree with that sentiment. However, Wilmer Cabrera, from what I saw with Houston, he really isn't that big about, which is one of the questions that I had also with the signing of Wilmer was because, so Ron mentioned that. He said that he wanted the new coach to be very active in the community and so on and so forth. And you look at Wilmer from the outside looking in, is like, like he really wasn't a big fan about public appearances for him or for his players. So
I like what Michael had said. Wilmer is no Gerson.
that is very true because you with Gerson Echeverry, he was very active about reaching out to us, reaching out to all of the media, being very transparent about what he could, given the limitations that the Dynamo give him. Obviously, he couldn't spill the beans about everything, but whatever he could tell us, he would tell us, right? And everything he told us, we tried to relay to you, not as saying it's absolute truth, but kind of get his point of view. He was very active when the beginning of the pandemic began, and the USL season was paused for a long time. The Stampede did happy hour every Friday. Jerson was with the Stampede almost every week of those Stampede happy hours, just chatting, talking about, about the team, what the plans were, et cetera, et cetera. Like he was very active with the fans. He loves the Valley. He says when he had our last interview with him, he mentioned that him and his family love the Rio Grande Valley. And so he was somebody that was open to being involved with the community. And as well as some of the players, you had Castellanos, Robert Coronado would also hop on, Timo Melic, would also hop on, and interact with the fans. And I expect to see a lot more of those kind of players that when they go and talk to fans, when they go and do virtual meets or even in-person meets, hopefully once the pandemic ends, that they go because they want to, not because they're forced to, y'all know what I'm talking about. Because more often than not, you can tell when somebody's there just to be there instead of, being there because they loved and they want to interact with the fans. And that's what we want from the players and as well as the coach. Wilmer, there's a big question mark about that. But we'll see. We'll see how he interacts with the fans. If he shuts my mouth, I will be very, very happy if he actually acts, how Ron Patel would like for him to be with the community. But I guess time will tell.
Will that be one of your the least likely to happen on the list, like with mine?
Mm-hmm. By the way, milkshake, so good.
And naturally, that HEB lemon lime.
You can't get anything better than that, man. I remember. Are they still 50 cents? Those bottles? Because I know they used to be
like 98 cents. We got the 6-pack.
Because I know when you go into the registers and they have them on the cooler, I think they were like 50 cents per bottle, which is really great. A really great price. I would always buy those when I worked at HEB and had my break. I would always buy those because it was so cheap, but it was also so refreshing at the same time. But anyway, we are starting to
Jorge, no, not sponsored. We just shop there a lot.
So Johnny says, Alex, we'll get to that in a little bit. He wants we'll talk about the Tyler Derrick signing just right now. Just be a little bit patient. Let's just finish this. So Jorge says, good luck with Wilmer. He hates the media. Oof. I have an anecdote, and I've talked about it on the show before, but I don't know if you had heard it, Cesar. But this was before you and Jacob and Ray were involved with Down in the Valley. This was back in the beginnings of it. I think it was 2018 season, 2018 off preseason. The Houston Dynamo come and play the Toros at HB Park. And so after the game, there's a typical press conference, right? Where the media comes in and asks, about the Houston Dynamo, what he saw, yada, yada, yada. So I go and ask him about the 2017 season for the Toros. And, I tell him, look, the Toros, after you left, had a bad season. They didn't make it to playoffs. They really faltered in the second half of the season. And so I asked him, now that you're the Dynamo head coach, what are the steps that you're going to take to make sure that this failure doesn't happen again? He looks at he was happy, and then as soon as I asked him that question, his whole face changed to anger. He looks at me and he says, what do you mean a failure? We signed 5 players from the Toros to the Houston Dynamo first team. But pissed. Super pissed. I was like, okay. And then, I met, here in Houston, I met Victor Araiza, Jorge Clara. Members of the media with a lot of experience. They taught me how to interact with Wilmer Cabrera in a way where I can get the questions that I want answered in a way that doesn't really piss him off, right? Which I'm very grateful to. So, Victor, if you're listening to this podcast, thank you so much.
Yeah, this is why I just take the pretty pictures and hold the camera.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, he doesn't really have a lot of patience with the media, so that's going to be interesting to see. It will be also because, the relationship that Gerson Echeverry had with the media, that what the Toros have been doing with the media to get them involved, now you're starting to see a lot more coverage from mainstream media like television and the newspapers, and now the Striker Texas, covering the Toros, because the Toros have reached out to them, making sure that they have what they need, the pictures, the articles, the information that they need in order to cover the Toros effectively. Trying to do that. Now you have somebody who has a reputation for not being a real big fan of the media. I don't know how that's going to affect, the relationship that was built by Gerson Echeverry. So there's that. Let's see. So Bobby says, thank you, Gerson, but I'd be okay with a coach not hanging with us as long as we start winning matches, beating SAFC, and making a run in Open Cup. Oof, that's another topic that I want to touch upon real quick, because that actually came up with a couple of weeks ago regarding the U.S. Open Cup for this year. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, what we want is the team to win. And if it means sacrificing, the more interpersonal relationship between fans and coach for the sake of winning some more games, then I guess at the end of the day, it's a very needy sacrifice. I don't know what you think.
I'm all for that. That's the, as far as the team goes, bottom line is they need to win. And that's something that hasn't been done for quite a while now. So I'd be all for it, so long as we still get to, give our opinions on the subjects in the matter, and still being able to share our thoughts with the fans. I'm cool with it.
So how's it going, Harry? I'm telling you, orange looks good on Harry.
May not like it, but yeah. Hell, I was even gonna admit that black and red looks good too. That one podcast, remember?
Harry, can you hear us? I don't think he can hear us right now.
I think he's connecting to audio right now.
Okay. All right. So just really quick, before we move on to the Tyler Derrick signing. One of the biggest pros about being independent is that now we are able to participate in the Lamar Hunt US Open Cup. However, a couple weeks ago, there was a bit of news that came out regarding the US Open Cup, where apparently for 2021, it will be shortened. So what was mentioned was that So what was mentioned was that there was going to be an opening round that will feature 8 USL Championship teams. That's it. Just 8 USL Championship teams. Out of how many? 30 some in the USL Championship?
Was there qualifying criteria?
I don't think that's been mentioned yet. Apparently, there's still a lot of details that need to be revealed. But what was revealed was 8 USL Championship teams, 4 Open Division teams, which I'm guessing is amateur, 2 USL League One teams, and 2 NISA teams. Then the round of 16 will be 8 opening round winners. The winners of the opening round going up against 8 MLS teams. That's it. That's gonna be the number of participants that'll be participating in the US Open Cup. So don't be surprised if at least for 2021 the Toros don't participate in Open Cup. That's another one of those things where I feel it's gonna be impossible. And I'm pretty sure the Toros at the end of the day they'll be like, oh yeah, we are participating in Open Cup in 2021. It's like, huh? So, sorpresa me, RGVFC. It says the 24 qualifiers still need to be selected and will be announced in the coming weeks per U.S. Soccer. Normally, all 24 MLS teams would enter, though now only 1/3 will gain entry. But, he went to put on... Hey, how's it going, Harry?
There he is.
I don't think Harry, can you hear us? Oh, we can't hear him.
Try. Well, he's active right now on the Zoom meeting.
Yeah, it shows that that his microphone is active. But anyways, if you guys are wondering why he's on, after, like I mentioned in the beginning, he is a Patreon. He is a Patreon supporter, and so he deserves the.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now, Harry. How's it
There
going?
he is.
Took it off the Bluetooth.
Oh, that's what it was. Yep, that'll do it for you.
Yeah, because I'm at AJ's soccer practice, so not at the comfort level of the home.
It's all good. How's he doing?
He's doing all right. His first year with club, so it's a learning experience for it here, and he's used to being able to do half effort, with the rec league, and with the club, they require a little bit more. So I'm trying to figure if he's going to put in the effort or not for year 2. So we will see. Well,
best of luck to him in that new environment, man. But hopefully he'll become successful there. But yeah. Harry, we were actually talking about right now about the US Open Cup changes for 2021. I want to hear your thoughts as somebody who is very how can you say, experience when it comes to learning about all lower division leagues, or mostly all of them in the United States. Like, what are your thoughts of the U.S. Open Cup being shortened?
So, initial thoughts was, why does it have to be played in such a short period? And, of course, that has to do with MLS. The other thing, MLS gets 8, we get 8, or USL Championship gets 8, NISA gets 2, League One gets 2. The one that kind of rubbed me the wrong way was the amateur teams, where they got 4 out of 32, 36 possible entries. So I think for NISA, I think for League One, I think for USL Championship, you can come up with a way based on last year's results to pick 8 teams for that here. So I think that's something you can do. The little hitch that I don't think everybody's caught is the first round isn't guaranteed. And if the first round isn't played, due to COVID, MLS still keeps the rate. USL goes down to 4. Lisa and League One go down to 1 and 2 amateur teams. So then it gets even a little bit more trickier. For me, I think if I was going to do it, I would have added to make it even to where everybody comes in together. So they have 24. I would have added the other 8 teams, but they would all been amateur teams, and the professional teams would have went and played them. And then, because to me that would have gave a boost to the lower leagues, to have an MLS team or USL Championship team, to come and support. And, to me, I think it would have been a good thing for US Soccer, would have added one more game for MLS that would have probably been their B team, most likely. And, yeah, I think it was a missed opportunity, but if it has to be played in a short window, I don't know what other options that they had. I think it sucks for, the Oakland Roots, sucks for you guys, because Oakland Roots may have been one of the NISA candidates, but obviously them moving over to USL Championship, I don't see them selecting them. How do you think that they'll select the teams?
I think it would probably be the top. I think the top 4 of the Western Conference that were eligible, for U.S. Open Cup, and the top 4 of the Eastern Conference that are eligible for U.S. Open Cup. I think that's the way they would do it. The question is, would they do it based on playoffs, or would they do it based on the regular season? We know that Reno 1868 is gone now. F in the chat.
So is St. Louis. St. Louis was the other one.
So is St. Louis. So, I mean, this leads to a very difficult conundrum about what is considered fair for selecting these 8 spots for USL Championship. It's one of the reasons why I think it's going to be near impossible for the Toros to make it to the Open Cup in 2021. And the reason I'm mentioning this, guys, is because I don't want to hear later on Facebook or on Twitter or on Instagram fans complaining why the Toros are not in the US Open Cup, when they said that now that we're independent, we should have been in US Open Cup, saying that Ron Patel doesn't keep his promises, yada yada yada. There's a reason why we're probably not going to make it, and I'm letting you all know right now. And guys, if you're listening to me right now, if you guys in the future see these kind of comments on Facebook, be sure to put them in their place.
Because there's no guarantee San Antonio's getting it. Because I think if you look at the 4 on the West, which is mainly what we look at, Phoenix is a lock. I think El Paso is a lock because they were in the final, assuming that they want to play. Then you're picking 2 out of 3 between Sacramento, New Mexico United, and San Antonio, if you're basing on the results. and that's discounting Tulsa, and the good season that they had last year. So if you're looking just at the playoffs of who made it last year, now if they just do, pulling the numbers out of the hat type thing, pulling clubs out like that, then, they better have video evidence of that. That's all I'm going to say, because, if San Antonio's not selected, I know we'll be upset, and it's going to happen when, if RGV is not selected in their first year, people are going to be upset, because that's, how many years have you guys been looking to do the Open Cup, to be able to play San Antonio, be able to play like Laredo Heat, along those lines, that, typically are in, in the Open Cup.
Yeah, definitely. But I think that's one of the reasons why we have this show, why we have this podcast. We're here to inform the fans about what we know. And I know I don't know everything about lower league soccer, and I'll be the first to admit it. I'm learning as I go as well. And having a person like Harry, who is very attentive, not only down to the San Antonio team with that San Antonio FC, he also looks at, down at RGV with Down on the Valley, all around the USL Championship, NISA, and all these other lower league teams. So he's got a general idea on what the general consensus is throughout U.S. soccer, and so he's very knowledgeable about the subject. So that's what I wanted to talk about when it comes to the U.S. Open Cup. I know a lot of people are probably going to be disappointed about that, but I mean, there's really nothing we can do. And just because we are the new kids on the block per se when it comes to eligibility for the Open Cup, is really no basis for us to earn that ticket into the Open Cup. So I guess for now, just keep waiting until 2022 and see what happens there. Cesar, any thoughts before we move on to Tyler Derrick?
As far as the as far as the U.S. Open Cup goes, Harry, you had mentioned if they were going to have the draw solely based off of playoffs, correct?
That's to me, I think that's how they're going to do it. Yeah.
I know another option would be just looking at the conference tables, who finished where. I think that would be another viable option. And again, having the names out of a hat kind of draw.
The problem with that is Reno won Group A, because remember last year they had them broke up between the 8 groups. So if you took the group winners, that would be ideal, with the exception you've got Group A, which was won by Reno, and you just give them to Sacramento, because they played Timbers 2, Tacoma, Reno, and Sacramento. So by default, you knew when the brackets or when the groups were released that Sacramento and Reno were going to be the two teams, just because the level in competition between them. So even going that path, it's that there still leaves a hole that opens it up. One other thing that Jeff Roeder on one of the New Mexico put up, tweeted out that looking forward to New Mexico United's run into the Open Cup. So I asked him, hey, are you breaking news? And he didn't respond. So to me, if Jeff is tweeting something like that, you almost got to think that New Mexico is going to be one of those slots that as well. And they were not a group winner last year. If that tweet does have some backing, which of course I think he did it in jest, but usually he doesn't put something out there like that without having some foundation behind it.
So Bobby asks in the chat regarding the Open Cup. He says, "Is this because of COVID?" And then he says, "When does Open in quotations Cup begin?"
So the reason why they're doing it is partly because of COVID, but I guess, and you might know this a little bit more with your MLS background, but there's the Gold Cup, there's
Qualifiers?
The Gold Cup. Well, the Gold Cup's this summer, right?
I think so.
There's a Leagues Cup between, I think, Liga MX and MLS as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's like a whole bunch of summer tournaments, for MLS, and that's what it is, for MLS competing teams, which is why it's being kind of, pushed, because I think it starts
May.
in May, the first week, first week in May, and ends at the end of June. So they're playing this in a 2-month period.
Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at the announcement that was made by MLS regarding the Open Cup, and there's a quote here by about that. They say, "As we looked at our scheduling options, the Open Cup committee first prioritized the health and safety of the players and decided against scheduling matches in both March and April due to the ongoing circumstances with the COVID-19 pandemic," U.S. Open Cup Commissioner Paul Marstaller said in a release. "We also took in consideration the extended June FIFA window and the CONCACAF Gold Cup taking place through August 1st, along with the semifinal and final rounds of the 2021 CONCACAF Champions League being scheduled in the fall. In the end, we all felt the shortened version for this year was the best format, and we're excited to have the opportunity to crown a champion after not being able to in 2020.
So basically, go ahead, Harry.
It's MLS, and I go back and forth with my love-hate relationship with MLS, but it's them saying, hey, we've got too much other stuff going on, plus with them trying to play their normal season to fit a true Open Cup year in. That's to me, that's the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
Basically saying, hey, this is what we can do. You either love it or hate it.
Pretty much.
Take it or leave it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks for the fans, that were anxiously waiting for this after, like you mentioned, not having anything in 2020, and it's just going to be disappointment. But at least for us with RGV, how many years have we been without an Open Cup? What's one more year? So
here's the other thing that I don't like about it, and it's how they've worded. Usually, if you're the furthest team to advance in your group, so you get 25,000. So you got these 4 amateur teams that are going to qualify. If no one advances, then nobody gets that 25,000. So, and to think of these, the reason why I bring up the lower leagues is, let's say you got a team like Laredo that spent money 2 years ago to qualify, didn't get to play last year because of COVID. This year, they carried that over, but you're going to get passed for that. Or if you do get a play and you don't win and nobody else wins, you still don't get that 25,000, which 25,000 for a lower league club like that is, it basically, I think, covers most of their season. So to me, that's the other thing where I think, U.S. Soccer, or the U.S. Open Cup committee kind of failed, especially if you're going to, reduce the fields, eliminate, majority of the amateur teams. But if nobody wins or gets past it, then they're not even rewarding those teams that did make it, instead of, hey, split the 25,000, however you want to do it. But to not pay it, because we know if they don't pay it, it's either going back into U.S. Soccer's, wallet, or it's going to end up in MLS, which may be one and the same.
Pretty much. But yeah, so that was the news regarding Open Cup.
Oh, can I make my comment on Wilmer? Because that's what I was trying to get in, and then
yes.
to figure it out. So I think Wilmer's a good coach, but he's not. To me, he's like Alan Marcina was last year, where he's got the history, he's got some positive history, but he doesn't. He's not an Ian Russell type that's going to get the fan base excited, I don't think. Along those lines here. But I think, as we saw last year with Marcina, if you got a guy that knows how to coach, that knows the area, knows what he's looking for, I think he'll do good. My only concern with him having both roles is how long does he plan on being the head coach? Is this going to be, a 1 or 2 year and then he's going to move upstairs full time, or is it, is this going to be more long term?
I think, I think I could definitely see him in the long term on the role, mostly because of the salary expectancies of a coach like Wilmer Cabrera. I feel like USL, if for just having one out of the two jobs, really isn't going to pay you as much as he was paid in by the Houston Dynamo in MLS.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like maybe having both roles will fulfill his salary needs in that aspect. So if that is the case, I don't see him, stepping down either one of the jobs to move into specialize into something full time. So I do see him in the long term, unless another MLS team comes knocking to take him, then we might see him leave. But other than that, I do see him long term in those two positions.
Which is good.
Yeah, I can see him long term. And how long, that's up to the future and for him to decide, or whatever the Toros have planned for him. But yeah, I can see him long term as well.
Guys, be sure to like this video, share this with all of your friends, and be sure to subscribe to the channel if you have not done so, or like us on Facebook if you haven't done so either and you're watching us from Facebook Live. But let's move on to the next topic, unless you have something else to talk about Wilmer Cabrera, Harry.
No, that was it. I'm not shaking in my boots. I know, I forget whether it was Caesar or you that made that comment. I think that I liked your coach. I liked Gerson last year. I kind of felt he got a raw deal. But I do think that Wilmer, is a quality coach. We'll see what kind of players he brings in, which I know we're gonna, start with the first one, which I find interesting. But I'll wait till you do your introduction and your spiel first before you my 2 cents.
Sure. By the way, you also did mention in a previous episode something about the lines of this isn't 2016 USL anymore. Regarding
this
Wilmer.
is not 2016 USL. That is correct. But if you're coached in MLS, and my issue's more, and it comes from listening to you, is more how he treats the media and with you and Ray along those lines. I'm hoping with that you'll still have the open access and the ability to bring him on in the future, because I think that, to me, that's what separates RGV from San Antonio. Is RGV is very open, very media friendly, where I hate to say it, San Antonio, it's the Spurs, unless you're one of the big news networks, you very rarely get that same access. So for down in the valley, that's my concern, with just from your past experience here. Will Wilmer be as open with you guys as the previous coach was?
I guess we'll see what happens.
We'll see.
Yeah, there's a lot of unanswered questions at this point, but there's still time for the beginning of preseason. I guess we'll see how he interacts with the media in general. Hopefully, he's learned from his mistakes and he's worked to be a lot more open with the media. But let's move on to the final topic of today, since we are past 8 o'clock right now. So today at 3 p.m. RGVFC announced their first independent signing since the beginning of this new era as an independent club. Goalkeeper, very well known in the Dynamo world, Tyler Derrick, Houston Dynamo homegrown, is back with the Toros, but this time it's for keeps. Previously, Tyler Derrick would come down. I know he came down in 2016 because, the first Toros game that I attended, Tyler Derrick was on goal back in 2016, back in the UTRGV fields. He came back. The latest time he came to the Toros was in 2019 after his personal off the field situation issues happened. Once he got reinstated by MLS, he was loaned down to the Houston Dynamo for 6 games, and then returned to the Houston Dynamo. He gets released in 2019, was a free agent since then, and now he has signed his contract with the RGVFC Toros to be the first independent signing of the club. Cesar, I want to get your thoughts on this particular signing.
Well, I know it's not what we were expecting. I know a lot of people had high hopes for something like maybe a midfielder or even a striker as the first independent signing. But I know down here during his time, Tyler Derrick had a pretty good run as our goalkeeper. I attended some of those games that year. Not too many, but when the ones I was fortunate enough to go to, he showed a lot of promise. And I know as fans we were pretty excited. Well, not excited, but grateful that the Dynamo had sent him down. And that year, who was our starting goalkeeper back then?
2016, Callum Irving.
There we go. I know he was a big fan favorite, but when they did send him down, he showed great promise. And again, I wasn't expecting him to be the first independent signing, but in a way, I'm glad he was because he's had experience with them before. So, he's shown us what he can do, and hopefully he'll, continue to deliver what he did back then to what he's going to be able to do now.
Harry.
So to me, I broke it up in 2 sides. On the field, in my opinion, a huge improvement from last year. So, that's the positive. To me, the 2 negatives that I have for here, number one, to be the first signing unfortunately, with the baggage that he has, I almost would have rather had him as the second signing, just because, I still remember Carlo Alvarez was the first signing for San Antonio FC. It's something that you're going to remember. It's a name that's there, and I'm all for giving second chances, and I know you're more well versed on his story than I am.
Mm-hmm. Just
to me, it kind of puts an asterisk on it. Number 2, and I know this is something that just kind of caught me off, is I would have liked to seen the first independent player not be from Houston, not coming from the Dynamo. And I know he's not directly coming from the Dynamo, but he has, from my understanding, he didn't play last year, since he was released, right? So his last team was the Dynamo. But to me, those are small things, and like I said here, it's what he's going to do on the field, which obviously he's a MLS starting caliber goalie. So for RGV, you have to like what he's going to bring between the pipes, and I'm assuming RGV is probably going to bring in some younger backup goalkeepers. And for him to be able to kind of train, be able to, be a mentor, to be able to train them, I think is going to be a huge positive, for RGV, depending on how they fill out the rest of the roster.
Yeah. So
that was another.
Yeah, go ahead.
That was another thing that I really wasn't expecting, that our first signing would actually be a Houston, a Dynamo player. I thought it would be somebody who's been with RGV for the longest time. But
or at least a USL veteran.
Yeah.
Somebody
not affiliated with Houston's.
Yeah. And that was my next expectation.
It almost seems like, for example, even with the Wilmer Cabrera signing, it almost seems like, at least for these 2 announcements, they kind of went with the easy route.
They went the safe.
Yeah, with the safe route. The safe route of getting what you already know for the key, I guess the key positions, head coach, now goalkeeper. Go with what you already know. Go with what's already been established with MLS experience. And then you can kind of build around that. I think it's a way that we're seeing, especially with the small time between the time they need to make signings and then preseason coming up. So go with what's safe right now, and then kind of fill it up as you go with good talent. Like I said, we'll see what happens. But another thing that I do want to talk about it, I'll talk about it before. Let me go real quick to Facebook. So Alex Centeno says, I still think Tyler Derrick has something to offer with him only being 32. He may not be truly MLS capable, but I think he's still quality. Also, the experience will definitely help with directing the younger defenders and teaching the younger goalies, which is something that you brought up. But my not only concern, but my concern as well on the pitch when it comes to Tyler Derrick is the fact that since he got released by the Houston Dynamo till now, he hasn't really been active, playing professionally. Now, I know there's still time for him to kind of work up on preseason, but my concern is, how is that downtime going to affect his skill? Like, whenever you stop doing something, at 100% for a while, you kind of get rusty. You kind of lose some of that. Like, for example, is a video game. Let's say a video game. When you stop playing it for maybe a week and you go back to playing it, you lose, your finger memory, on how to play it. Yeah, racing sims. And so that's my concern about Tyler Derrick, the fact that he hasn't been active for a while. How is that going to affect him once he gets back into action?
The only thing that I would say on that is last year was such a odd year where there was 14, 15 games. If you were going to take a year off, that was the year to do it. Just because I know you still get the practice reps and stuff like that, but the game action and stuff like that. And we don't know what he was doing last year, if he was coaching, working part of an academy, that type of stuff. So I think that does kind of matter. But if you were going to miss a year, to me last year, with all the craziness and stuff, would be the year to miss, just because, it wasn't a normal year to start with.
Like the best of a bad situation.
I guess you can say, because I know, and we'll get to it right now with Alex's other comments. By the way, thank you all for participating in the chat. Really appreciate y'all's feedback and interaction. Let's keep doing that. So Sloth says, first season being free from Dynamo Wrath. Hire ex-Dynamo coach and a player. Sounds logical. Well, he didn't say that. I added that. But I think the idea is that it's like we expected full independence, and it's like, oh look, your first signings are from the team that you hated the most. But
that's why I say if they would have announced him second, I don't think we would be having this discussion. But because he's the first announced, the quote historic signing from RGV, to me, I was a little bit surprised that it was a former Dynamo player. I'm not gonna lie to you.
But then again, they're going the safe route, like we had mentioned.
Right.
I think given the circumstances, I think that's kind of what the thought process was in hiring Tyler Derrick. After all, I mean, not saying he's a bad keeper. He's a good keeper. I think the fact that a lot of Dynamo fans remember him fondly about his skill, I think it really says a lot. I mean, a lot of eyes Dynamo fans, and some of them never even I have never seen them comment about the Toros, are now looking at the Toros So I think that could be a good thing in order to kind of garner the attention for the team that the Dynamo failed to do for all of these years. But I guess we'll see what happens. We'll see how he returns. Um, there's also the whole off of the pitch issues that I hope he leaves behind. And yes, I'm all for second chances, but I know a lot of people that will continuously remind everybody about his past. So I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt and see what he commands off the pitch. I feel like what happened was a wake up call to him to kind of fix his path, and hopefully he learned from his mistakes. I think if there's a third time, I think in people are just that's it. That's three strikes and you're out. You've been given opportunities to become a better person, and if you fail to do it, then that's on you. But hopefully it doesn't lead to that. So my dad says the great keepers win games and build from the back. So I guess it's the good thing. They're starting to build that as we say that spinal cord, of the formation. But I wish they didn't do drip feed though, like one at a time. It's like what I was expecting. I said minimum like maybe like 4 players to be announced today.
I
But
thought they would do at least. I thought they would do 2 or 3. I was surprised by just the one.
mhm. So and then Alex Centeno says, I mean, he was out for a while after he was arrested, right? So after he was arrested for the second time, he was arrested in Halloween night. Go figure. And I think it was 8 months before MLS allowed him to be reinstated
Mhm.
into 8, 9 months before he was reinstated by Major League Soccer. He gets loaned down to RGV right after he gets reinstated. He plays 6 games for the Toros. He goes back to the Dynamo, plays an Open Cup match with the Houston Dynamo. Then in the offseason, the Dynamo bring in Marco Maric. They sell Joe Willis to Nashville SC, and they release Tyler Derrick. And now he's back. So yeah, he was gone for a long time after his arrest. So I guess there's at least there's a background in what we can expect from him returning after this hiatus. Um, so guys, do you got anything more that you would like to add?
Not
So
for me,
my
no.
question. Go ahead, Caesar.
No, I was just saying that. No, I got nothing else to add.
So my question to you, even with the time off, do you think he's better than the goalies that you had last year?
Yes, by far.
So then, taking the off-field issues aside, it's a win for to me. It's a big win for for RGV. Because you're getting probably the top 10 USL Championship goalie, most likely.
Mm-hmm.
To start out with, and I know there's some there. I love Matt Cardoni, but I'd probably say the RGV keeper is going to be is better even taking a year off than Cardoni is.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt's a good goalie, but he's not a great goalie. Where I think where I think he has the potential, if he can dust off the rust and stuff, and to be great. To me, it's just like I said here, it's on the pitch. I think it's a big win. Just the timing issue of it, is the part that I think some of us that may have issues with the baggage would have preferred not to be the first signing, but it's done.
So I do have to say that right before he was arrested, he was actually MLS's goalkeeper of the month.
Yeah, he was,
Yeah.
with their all-star level, he was a top tier MLS, goal. He wasn't just somebody that, was, mid or bottom of the league. He was one of their best goalies through there. And he's got that talent. That's why, to me, him taking the time off, is assuming that he's still got the work ethic, and he's trying to. You got to figure he's, because goalies have a little bit, longer life shelf, than field players.
Mm-hmm.
He's hoping to have one great year down in RGV to possibly turn that into another paycheck in MLS, or another league, that pays a little bit more.
So Alex Centeno also says he was getting talks of being on the national team before he got arrested. So we know the kind of quality Tyler Derrick is. Tyler Derrick has the potential to have. The fact that he was being tossed around as a name to be called up to the national team, that kind of shows how talented he is as a goalkeeper. And hopefully we can see that in this 2021 season with the Toros. Can you imagine having that kind of player? I've seen, except for poor old Tim Howard. Oh my God. But can you imagine how somebody of a similar or a little bit lower of the caliber of Tim Howard, but having that in the USL Championship, that kind of talent in the USL Championship, I think that's great for the league, and obviously more importantly, great for the team and great for the rivalry against San Antonio.
Well, you had that in Ochoa up in with Real Monarchs last year. We were fortunate enough to, the first game, to be able to watch him, and Real Monarchs weren't that great of a team, but when he was between the pipes, he just raised that level. And, obviously I'm a San Antonio FC fan first, but, me and Edson's gone back and forth, for the health of RGV, you guys need to have, at least a semi good year to be able to, start, to me, to be able to start to replace the orange seats with actual butts in the seats. So,
Yeah, I noticed that once we started talking about Tyler Derrick, the chat just like lit up. Sloth says, I remembered when he played with RGV back in 2019, somebody yelled something at him. You guys can read it in the chat. He says, you're right about people not liking the signing. And we've seen a couple of comments on social media so far that have voiced their displeasure. They are in the minority though, but the displeasure is there about the particular situation. All I expect, like I said, leave this behind. Let's see what you can bring on the field. Brian Sandoval says first season independence picks new coach and signs players Houston left out to dry. Sounds like spit in the face vengeance to me.
That would have been more Charlie Ward if I was going to go that path, which obviously he's already re-signed back in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
But to me, it's too early to say. Just for the fact that I want to see how RGV fills out their roster, and I also want to see how the Bold fill out their roster, because I think for Copa Tejas purposes, I think San Antonio is looking. Obviously, I think they're looking well. Obviously, I'm a fan, but I think most people would agree that the signings they brought in have been good. El Paso's always tough, and they're bringing in quality players. The Bold bringing in Jason Johnson, Omar Gordon, and Sean Olaki, the 2016 USL MVP, I think it was. So they're bringing in some firepower, but I still don't know if Austin's gonna be there. So I do think RGV has that potential, depending on how they fill out that roster, to make this very interesting. And to me, like I said here, I could see them taking San Antonio out of the equation here, being up there, if they can get the depth right, being up there with El Paso and passing Austin, fairly easy for that.
Yeah, I guess, like I said, we only have 4 players, so really that we have nothing to base ourselves on to compare ourselves to other teams, much less San Antonio when it comes to Copa Tejas. First impressions from someone out the outside, I think San Antonio have gotten some decent talent to try to fight to be competitive for a playoff position in 2021, and I think that'll be the minimum standard to what the Toros can do for 2021, because 2020 you guys passed us in games 1, in this head-to-head between both clubs, and I think as an organization we're a little they're a little bit butthurt, and us as fans even more about that particular instance. We can say all we want about it's our worst season, the pandemic, yada yada yada, but at the end of the day, stats are stats. And
I thought it was a great season for you guys. I don't know what you guys are complaining about.
There it is, everybody. There it is. So real quick, before we wrap up the show, just some quick stats about Tyler Derrick. So he did debut back in 2010, if I'm not mistaken. He was the first Dynamo homegrown to actually debut, and he actually, in his debut, received a shutout. He got a shutout against, I know it's in the press release right here. Let me get that for you. Yeah, he debuted in 2010 against San Jose, recording 3 saves to earn the shutout. First homegrown goalkeeper in MLS history to record a shutout on his debut. He only played 2 games in 2010 for 180 minutes. What else? Shutouts 1. Saves, he got 8 saves in total. Only 1 goal against. He started getting more minutes in 2014 and 2015. 2015 being the year where he had the most games. He had 7 shutouts in 2015. 89 saves in total that season, 44 goals against. And then in 2016, he played 10 games with 4 shutouts, 31 saves. Then 2017, he started getting more minutes again with Wilmer Cabrera with 6 shutouts in those 26 games, 76 saves, 31 goals against. So, and then 2018, he only played 2 games because then he was, I think Joe Willis was the one who earned the spot in 2018, the starting position. For 0 shutouts, only 7 saves in those 2 games. 2019, he played 7 games with 19 saves in those 7 games.
So it looks good on paper.
It looks good on paper, and then when you take into the factor that really the Houston Dynamo really wasn't the greatest defenses ever, in MLS, then I think it just goes to show that, I mean, he can do the work. If you put a good if you can put a good line in front of him, I think this team will be very competitive in USL Championship. But that's just basing ourselves on the keeper, So we can do a more in-depth analysis as we start getting more signing announcement. But guys, you guys want to add anything? Maybe even if it isn't related to Tyler Derrick before we sign off.
Yeah. So I just want to say, and like I said here, number one, Edson, thank you for doing the show here, and with Ray and the rest of the gang on here. Just like I said here, I think the work you do is awesome and has been awesome. For RGV, where outside of you and Ray, nobody's real, at least in my coverage, has really kind of stepped up. But I guess there's the other show that's came on I guess in the last year or so, but obviously you're the grandfather of the RGV coverage. Second of all, and I know you guys started out the show with this here, but Want to thank all the HEB workers and grocery store workers, the CPS workers here in San Antonio, the saws, the people that do the electrical and water, on getting power back up, getting water back on, because I know over in Houston, you guys, I don't know if you guys were impacted by a lot of power outages, but I know you guys were impacted with the water. But I know, have some friends that are in that line of work, and they put in some really long hours. So I think for all of Texas here, we want to thank them for for their efforts and stuff, because it definitely was not an easy job, no matter where you were at in the state of Texas last week.
Hey, if you want to say thank you to an HEB worker, I'm living with one right now.
No, honestly, like I can't. I think the degree as to what I'm grateful for all of those workers. I mean, I can't explain it because this is something that has really never happened before in the state of Texas, especially that far south, for it to affecting the Rio Grande Valley as well, and the work that they put in to kind of help others in need, when it appeared that our governments were failing us, or the people mostly in charge of controlling the power grid, et cetera, were failing us. They stepped up and helped the people in their time of need. I'm eternally grateful for all of their work and all of their contributions. Having said that, guys, please, if you guys can, support your local food bank, the RGV Food Bank, San Antonio Food Bank, the Houston Food Bank. I know I'm eternally grateful also if you guys donated to the initiative that the Houston Dynamo and Dash players did to help the people in the area of Houston. I think it
Austin
was
FC also came out with one, and I think so did FC Dallas.
FC Dallas, if you all
stepped up here,
if you all contributed to that, thank you. And I feel like the people that are really affected by this are eternally grateful about all of your help. This is where we show up and prove that we're for our community. People can just say, "Oh, I love my community," in the good times, but in the bad times, that's where you need to show how committed you are to your people. And like I said, it's amazing what we can do. We the people can do for all of us. So guys, thank you so much for all of that. One quick comment from Brian Sandoval. I would love to see if RGV uses this season to focus on building a rift with Houston than focus on lame ass Spurs FC. That is the season we deserve. This is our team now. I know you're sorry about that, Harry, but that's what it said. I disagree with that. And this is why I disagree. When are we going to go against Houston Dynamo? It's two different leagues. The only time we can ever probably on paper play against them is in the US Open Cup or in preseason. Why should we focus on our efforts on creating a rivalry against a team we're rarely going to play? Sure, we hate the way they ran the Toros, but that's an issue with front office.
Here's the reason why. It's the same way with Austin FC for San Antonio, is because you think that they kept you from reaching your potential, through there. So it's I already know when San Antonio faces Austin FC, it's it wouldn't shock me, and I hopefully this doesn't happen, but it wouldn't shock me if there's fights in the stands. Just
ouch.
And there is a lot of sour grapes, and we both know that I still remember the first game between RGV and SAFC at the UT RGV campus, where I believe there were a few of our supporters and probably a few of your supporters that unfortunately did not finish the game. So I can expect that to happen again. I think, I think supporters wise, that's kind of chilled out quite a bit, from there, because, there's a lot more respect and stuff. And, both of us have landed that foundation that, that RGV is always going to play San Antonio tough, even when they had, Daddy Dynamo. Now they don't have Danny Dynamo, so we can see if they can handle their own, or if they're still going to lean on Daddy Dynamo like it seems like they're doing, and of course San Antonio FC. We're, it's. I won't lie to you, it's kind of surprised me on how well that the two front offices kind of keep that rivalry going on, as far as for USL. But I do think, when it comes to MLS, that when it comes to the Dynamo RGV relationship, those games are going to be physical. They're, you guys are going to be, have that chip on your shoulder to where, the reason why we didn't have success was because of X. And we already know from our good friend Sean that, they feel that, hey, we gave RGV everything that they could want. So, that. Am I lying?
You're not. You're not.
So,
but let him think what he wants. There's a saying in Mexico that says, "El que ríe al último ríe mejor." He who laughs the last laughs better. And I think that's what's going to happen. He's probably going to get surprised about how better we're going to be. And if we ever meet in the Open Cup,
especially down in RGV at HEB Park.
Yeah.
Could you imagine? You can't tell me that, the Stampede, that section will probably be the fullest that it's probably ever been outside of maybe the first couple of games. When the stadium opened up and last year, or not last year, but, when we opened up HEB Park, and then when the first year, 2016, when you guys, had that good run. But you can't tell me that Houston coming down, that stadium will be packed and it will be loud, and it won't be cheering for the Dynamo like many anticipate that it would be.
Mm-hmm.
You're the SpongeBob narrator. 1 year later.
I will say, if the Toros do get former Dynamo players into the squad, and the Toros become successful, I wonder if that's going to add fuel to the fire to the Dynamo haters that have said that the Houston Dynamo is a USL championship team that just happened to be in MLS. Can you imagine that? That's all I'm gonna say. Because if Sean says something like that, that's my rebuttal. If we are successful in the Houston Dynamo with ex-Houston Dynamo players, what does that mean about their level compared to the rest of MLS? Just leaving it bouncing out there. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in tonight on the show. Once again, a quick reminder, a big thank you to our sponsors, Roughneck Scarves, Icarus FC, and Natural Beauty Spa. Be sure to check them out. Check out all of their products on their websites. Be sure to also check out our podcast, our audio podcasts on Spotify, TuneIn, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, and Anchor.fm. Be sure, if you guys want to be part of this monthly Patreon invitational show, be sure to subscribe to us on Patreon. Choose any of the top two tiers, whether the #BlameMedicine tier, which is $5 a month, or the Rep the 956 tier, which is $9.56 a month. You all get the opportunity every month to participate in these kinds of shows. Hopefully we can get more patrons of the ones that are currently our patrons to join us next month. This has been a very, very interesting idea to once again, reach out to the fans and make sure that they that we interact with them. I think it's a really, really good initiative. But like I said, like all of this money is dedicated specifically just for the use of the podcast. So
I
there's
do have one last thing to do.
Yes.
For the other subscribers that qualified for this, where are you? Why is a San Antonio FC fan the only one that comes on? What is that? How does that happen? Come on. If you're subscribing to Edson's show, which is a great show, the Down in the Valley, step up and be part of it. That's the only way this is going to grow and build that fan base. Down in the Valley is from participation, from everybody. For that here, it's awesome, that with the chat there. But if you're giving Edson, a couple of bones here and there, take him up on these here. It only makes the show better. And as a SAFC fan, I don't really like talking about RGV, but I'll do that and throw in a few jabs there. But next show, there's got to be at least two other RGV subscribers, fans, calling you out, Johnny. You better be on the next one. For that here, of course, if possible, for that here. But I saw him in the chat, so there was no reason for him not to hop on. If I can do it, from the car in the kids' soccer practice, there's no excuse.
So be sure to hop in to patreon.com/downinthergv. Subscribe to any of the 3 tiers. If you there's the $2, $5, and the $9.56 one. Also, if you subscribe to the #rep the Run 956 tier, the top one, you have the opportunity to win an authentic, an official RGVFC jersey, as well as participating in an end of the year roundtable show with us, members of the podcast. So be sure to, if you guys have the ability to do so and you guys want to help us out financially, be sure to take a look at our Patreon page. But guys, that's going to do it for tonight. Thank you, Facebook. Thank you, YouTube chat. If you guys missed any part of the show, you can check out our audio podcast, or you can also watch the replay of the video right after the stream ends and finishes processing. Check out our website, ditvpodcast.com. Follow us on all of our social media at Down to the RGV on Instagram, Twitter, and of course, facebook.com/Down in the RGV on Facebook. You can follow me on my personal Twitter account at eochoa_8, and on Instagram, Edson or eochoa DITV8 on Instagram. Cesar, where can they find you?
Y'all can find me on my YouTube channel, which is just my name, Cesar Cortez. And you can find me on my Twitter. My Twitter handle is Court_EZ. And on my Instagram, which is Courts Golfing. That's another thing that I do on the side, as well as the Down in the Valley podcast.
Harry, where can they find you?
You can follow me on Twitter at Ramincol, RAMINCOL. And we also do the San Antonio Soccer Roundtable show for that here, which I think is probably going to be airing most likely on Mondays this week on YouTube and Twitter and stuff like that. I'm sorry I don't have that handy with me in the car, but probably the easiest way to get me is Ram and Call on Twitter. And as everybody knows, I am not very shy on Twitter. So,
so be prepared for that banter, guys. If you guys interact with Harry, be prepared for that banter because he's got the experience about it. But he's a cool guy. He's a cool guy to hang out with.
I lose a little bit, especially with the Stampede guys. They've zinged me a couple of times, and it's very fair. And Ray always seems to be the sneak attack, because he does quality work, but he'll put in those zingers that there's really no way to go back on Ray. But Jacob and his racing, like I said here, that's the interesting one. That's out of the down the valley guys to try to banter with, just because he's an Aggie fan and he's racing, and it's just like he's a
Jets
lost
fan. I'm sorry, Mike. I know you're a Jets fan too, but it was low hanging fruit. Yeah. And guys, on behalf of Ray Silva, who couldn't be here, and of course Jacob Young, who couldn't be here as well, we thank you all for your support of the Down in the Valley. Hopefully we can be on next week as well to talk hopefully about another signing. But now that things are starting to pick up with Torres news, we're going to be a lot more consistent with our shows. I still don't know if I'm going to continue going with the Thursday schedule. We'll see how it goes. But if we start
Wednesday.
but
Please Wednesday.
But it'll depend. But more than likely it'll be Wednesdays, as we usually have done it since a couple of seasons ago. But guys, thank you so much for your support.
AEW is on Wednesday.
Say again?
That I like that Thursday. AEW is on Wednesday.
It also depends a lot on the availability on the rest of the guys. So there's this. Johnny says San Antonio Spurs Rec League team. There it is, everybody. Guys, thank you so much. I've got to let you all go because it's starting to be 9:00. But we'll see you all next week. Everybody, take care, be safe, wear your mask, drink plenty of water, and we'll see you on our next show. Have a good night, guys. Bye.